Hello and welcome to That Gaming Show. Sorry for the delay in getting out to you tonight. We had a few little technical difficulties, but that's okay. We are That Gaming Show. I am, of course, Jackson Ryan. To my right is Milky Pixel, and to her right is Beau, Shay.
Hi.
We're all about video games here. We talk about the biggest video game news, really, this week. And first of all, we're going to start with Overwatch. You can see Junkertown playing right behind me. I like this story because it caused a little bit of a stir this week, guys.
Just a bit.
You know.
Sure did.
Now, we won't talk too much about Overwatch because I'm sure that if you're watching a gaming show, you're probably well aware of what Overwatch is. But this week, Blizzard announced that they were going to release a new map that would feature Australia.
Yay!
Yay.
That's where we're from. We're from Australia.
We're from Australia.
Are we?
And practically, Junkertown's been mentioned before.
I'm from Australia.
Yeah. That's a good point. Junkertown's been mentioned before, and in this case, they said, look, we're going to do Junkertown. They did a reveal trailer. I think it went for 3 minutes or so. Junkrat, Roadhog. You know these things, Milky, better than I do, of course. But there was a few issues. And the first issue was, I think, a little bit around the language that was used in the trailer.
And we're not talking about cussing.
No.
For once.
For once.
I'm not talking about cussing. So at one point during the trailer, Junkrat actually says they took our land, basically. Which, you know, for an Australian-based map, seems like it could be potentially inflammatory in some way. Of course, Australia is the nation of convicts. The white people that live here stole the land from the Indigenous Australians. That's a fact. It's not debatable.
The sugar-coated word is colonized.
Yeah, right. Terra nullius and all that nonsense. But anyway, the whole controversy sort of erupted around a couple of tweets people were saying, look, this language is probably not something that we want to use for revealing a map that's about Australia. So Beau first. I'll go to Beau first.
Oh.
Because he looks like he's ready to
Ready to go.
Ready to
Well,
go.
no, I'm just interested in your take, especially around the language, first of all, that was used, and sort of the context it was used in.
Yeah.
Do you think, like, Blizzard are pretty good with this stuff?
yeah, no, and we talked about it previously on the show, talking about Overwatch and our affinity for it, and how they do such a great job of being inclusive to races, sexualities, and all different walks of life. Do a really good job of it. I don't think there was definitely not anything malicious in this. It's just a phrase that they used without knowing the full context of it. But in saying that, I should also state, as a white Australian male who's benefited from centuries of white privilege, I don't think I'm in a position to be having a kind of robust opinion on this. But a mutual friend of ours who is an Indigenous journalist, Ray Johnson, did say today that, and I'll quote her tweet just so I'd make sure I say it correctly. If you're vocal and angry and spreading the word about a video game trailer using poorly chosen language that could potentially maybe be deemed offensive to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, I hope you also have some energy to speak out about the multitude of actual horrific injustices happening on a daily basis, including white people getting away with murdering Aboriginal children, the continued rise in rate of deaths in custody, our National Day being on the anniversary of the beginning of attempted genocide, and just the erasure of this nation's true history in general. So I think that puts it in a pretty good context, from someone, an Indigenous person. It's like, if you're going to get outraged about this
language, then.
About this really throwaway line in it, if it hadn't been highlighted to me again, like I know I come from a position of white privilege. Yeah. I might not have picked up on it, and that's says more about me than anything. So that's how I feel it should be surmised.
So Milky, then a question for you, which I'm a little bit interested in your take as well. Not just around the language, but in games in general, in games development. This is obviously a US-based developer, right?
Yeah.
So when they are building stuff around Australia or building games that are sort of set in Australia, do you think that they need to do more due diligence? Like, do you think that the developer should be really chasing up things like history? Like, if they made this in the US and somehow accidentally made an offhanded comment about slavery or something like that, this would be huge news, right?
Yes.
So, I'm just wondering, like, do you think there's a real onus on the developer to be like, hey, I've got to go out and get this information?
Well, I mean, they're not a dumb company.
No.
like, these aren't people who are below the IQ of 50. Collectively. No,
Tis not the unwashed masses we're talking about.
the unwashed masses. No, so I think there could have been a bit more research done. I mean, if you have Junkrat and Roadhog being very Aka Aussie, and you have all these little references and cultural little tidbits, then, just a bit more effort could have been put.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's not like this kind of thing hasn't happened before. I mean, with Symmetra's Desi skin, I think I'm saying it right, Desi skin, and the Native American / Egyptian heritage of, what's her name?
The one with the big things.
I've forgotten her name.
I don't do Overwatch.
Farah, yeah. So
you're the Overwatch queen. You're directing me.
So it's very much. It's like it's not like this hasn't happened on a certain scale before.
So it should be prepared for these things. Basically.
Yeah, I think it's like they're made of people. The company made of people. They're not perfect. So throughout life, we're always going to make mistakes.
You
we're
don't
not
just think
robots.
that in this particular case is an overreaction?
I mean, I guess.
I don't think you can call it an overreaction. Like, I think it's a valid point, but like, as Ray said, it's like put it in context. Like, be that upset about this line. Like, don't vilify the company. They are doing great. Other people have said they are doing great things. Well, we've said they're really inclusive. They're doing a good job in being inclusive. We shouldn't vilify them for this because it was something that they weren't aware of.
Yeah.
And with Farah, like with the whole, I guess, uproar as well with Farah and her heritage being Native American and Egyptian, because we're in Australia, I guess we didn't feel the Twitter uproar and whatnot in comparison to our neighbors in the States. Yeah. So we're feeling the Junkertown stuff now because we're in Australia. Yeah. But it could have been the same thing for those two instances.
And that issue obviously is, issues around racism is always going to be quite
touchy.
Yeah, quite a touchy subject, and obviously, like Beau suggested, it's better to leave that discussion to Indigenous Australians, people associated with Indigenous Australians, because we have more than enough privilege and have had our say more than enough over the years.
No one needs to hear from more white guys.
But the truth is, there was another controversy, and that was the fact that they used the word takeout in the trailer instead of the word take away. And obviously Australians don't use the word take out. I've never ever said, let's go get some takeout. So takeaway needs to go in. That was a real uproar. I mean, somewhat, like, strangely, that was what
somewhat overshadowed.
Yeah, somewhat overshadowed maybe a bigger issue.
That is something I am outraged about.
So you don't like the takeout?
No way. It's this whole thing where Americans don't want the real Australia in this map, and I mean, I know this is a game and it's it's designed to be a kind of fun, interactive environment. So okay, chill out, bro. Yeah, I get it. But just in general, when Americans look at Australian culture, they don't want real Australian culture. Like, they want a parody of Australian culture.
They want the stereotypes.
The stereotypes. They want hats with corks on them and boomerangs and
Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah. Your koala is your avatar, like that. That's what they want. Like, they don't want the real deal. I don't like
that at all. But Jeff did apologise. Jeff Kaplan, Vice President of Blizzard, obviously did apologise, and he basically went and said, "Look, we're going to patch this out. Yeah. We're going to actually patch this out, and in the next patch that's going." He also said that Muzelk, who is a big Overwatch streamer, complained about the size of coffees in the US, and that they're trying to be better for Australians.